right. So I think this is a literal table wherein we will all be discussing the things we've been talking about for years.
4 years now. 3 years in the making for Cebu.
Right. Four. Or 5,
years,
yeah.
yeah.
But technically, I think we should start by introducing ourselves.
Hi everybody, I'm Angelina and Angelina Batukan, and I'm here in the table as an ally, of course, and I'm a fresh graduate. My pronouns are she and her.
And I think Angelina also comes from a SPED background.
Oh yes, a Bachelor of Special Needs Education. So an
And you
advocate.
work hand in hand with a lot of performers who
Yes,
are...
of course, our drag queens
Right.
here in Cebu. So yes.
Ayun. My name is Matthew, or you can call me Matt. I'm from the corporate side, no? I'm one of the co-founders of Cebu Pride Movement and JCI Cebu Lakan Bahaghari. Yeah, I come in as an advocate.
Good morning, everybody. I am Dr. Christian Emmanuel Enriquez. Everybody calls me Doc Emma. So I come from the corporate world, same as Matt. I'm the Executive Vice President of Aspired Inc. And I'm also the President of Mr. Gay Soup Organization, which highlights HIV advocacy. And we are trying to transform the landscape of pageantry, no? Really going back to what pageantry platform is for. So I'm excited to be here. My pronouns are either he or she, whatever you're comfortable with, but generally they just call me Doc Emma.
Right. Thank you, Doc.
Hello everyone, I'm Ayana Kate. I'm a licensed pharmacist. My pronoun is she, her. I am affiliated to Advocates. It's an HIV advocacy non-government organization, as well as I'm also affiliated with JCI, Makahalar 24K. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. So there you go. I think it's a diverse group, but at the same time, we're all very aligned with the goal that we have in mind for the community or for Cebu in general. But I think the topic is very, very interesting.
I would say so, yes.
Because right now we are a product of, or we are enjoying the privilege of being gay, being an ally, or being, part of this embracing community that is Cebu right now. But it's also very interesting to talk about how was it years ago, no? So I think we are in a diverse age group.
Disclaimer lang, no? This is not once young versus young one.
Right. So yeah, so I think let's start with the youngins, no? Like when
now.
when you were
For
like,
now.
namulat na ba? Like what kind of pride were you able to see or to witness? No, when you started to like go out and have fun and meet your queer friends. What was pride like at that time? Be
On-
specific with the year.
Yes, on my end, since I'm 22, and I think
Age drop
the
na ni.
55 and the 60 here.
I feel attacked.
But of course, as I think you guys are the reason po why I became a little bit, I think early nga naka-realize with how pride really is, with how the lives of LGBTQIA plus communities are. But of course, I think what I see now is if before, I'm very much sure it's all about making a seat sa table. But this time around, or what I say, my pride then, I think was nanay seat sa table, but just like allowing more seats for them to sit down on. But of course now, I think my pride now is creating more tables for more seats for them to sit. So it's becoming not a fight already, it's a celebration na too.
Right.
But there's still
no?
so much more to do. I'm very
Yeah,
sure.
that's interesting, no? Like, before it was a fight, and later I'll share that, no? It was really a fight than a celebration,
You
no?
say about the
So I
fight.
think the next younger person on the table, Ayana, like, when did you arrive in Cebu?
I arrived in Cebu way back 2019. So for context, I was a pharmacy student then, and then the prior advocates president, they had an HIV awareness talk. And because it's healthcare related and I wanted to build my own connections, that was my main goal. And then I started volunteering, and then my eyes opened to the LGBT community. I'm like, wow, this is such a diverse, beautiful culture where everything's embraced. You can
Right.
express yourself freely. It's so beautiful. So beyond the healthcare aspect, I was able to make years-long friendship. And
You're how young?
I'm 28 years old.
I feel attacked again.
Murag ako ang winner.
So you also witness a pride wherein it's already a celebration na, or
Yes. I was privileged enough that when I entered the space, I was already educated with the SOGI. Because, with the HIV awareness talk, you're also educated with the SOGI to
Yeah,
speak
it's
the
parallel.
language. Yes. So as an ally, you need to know the language as well so you can communicate better.
Right.
So yeah, I think those are the things that helped me become more equipped as I entered the ally aspect.
right. So yeah, good for you guys. Actually, I'm 34, turning 35.
Lucky ang
Boom.
winner.
So I can't say that the pride that I first started to see was literally a fighting or like a fight, but it's more of there were fewer tables or seats
Right.
offered for us. No, at that time there were already pride celebrations. That was 2012, 2013. Queer people were already accepted. But I can't say that they're embraced or inclusivity was a thing or a term we say every day, like now, right? But they were tolerated and somehow accepted, no? And then there were different camps. There were different tables that were not open to many people, many queer people, no? Mainly because pride in Cebu, as how I remember it at that time, was very political. It was used as a political arsenal. No, a certain political entity would have its own pride group or LGBT and queer group. Another would have this. No, because as queer people, we have the natural skill of voicing out. We have the natural skill of processing our pains into protests or to creative,
something
Expression.
something creative, no? So we're really a good weapon, no? So that's why, and we decorate beautiful stages. We invite. We're very compelling people.
And
we
Mount Beautiful Productions.
Right, Mount Beautiful
Yeah,
Productions,
I
and
agree.
actually gather people with our charm, natural charm. So at that time, it was very political, no. And then the seats available were very limited by affinity or by affiliation. So at that time, like as a person closeted pa at that time, so I was like, okay, it's not safe to be part of these tables because you have to choose
Yeah.
a color or a side.
And it was very polarizing back then.
right. Where in fact, coming out is actually choosing myself.
Right.
No? So at that time, that was that. No, where I don't want to go. I don't want to like show up. I don't want to like be myself because I had to choose. That was my time. 2012.
Oh, that was my time.
The pride wear is a fight.
The pride wear is the fight now.
The Stonewall time.
Grabe.
kidding.
Sige. So,
Dorte.
I'm 37, turning 37 this year. Not very far out with Matt. So, we were in college back in 2011-ish. So, I think the biggest difference was the highlight of celebrating Pride before. It's not even a celebration. It was really a political protest.
Right.
No, if you go back to the very core of Pride, it was not just to ramp and to celebrate and be flamboyant and have fun, which is most of the more likely present today compared to many years ago. So if we go back to history, good, it was in 1969, if I'm not mistaken, na nag-Stonewall riot. And basically the march was to create noise and to really tell people that discrimination should not happen.
Right.
So it really started that way. And sometimes that's, I think, what's missing with the Pride celebrations nowadays, because for us to really celebrate something genuinely, we have to go back to the history.
Right.
So we have to understand what it's like in 1969. I was not born yet that time, disclaimer. I was born in 1989. But my Pride experience was somehow closer and similar to Matt, no? There were no tables and chairs available. If they were, it was very specific for a specific political group. Or it could also mean very intentional to a specific demographic. So during our time, the rules were more stringent. The emphasis on moral values and ethical practices are always highlighted.
Right.
And it almost became an equation na if you're part of the LGBTQ community, although not intentionally, people perceive it as something immoral or something that's different. No?
Right.
Even the conversations on Soji back then was not available.
Was not there yet.
During when we were students, the general term was actually gender dysphoria, or in the local language, kay abnormal. So when
And
you,
third sex was greatly used at that
right,
time.
so
No,
if you
third
do not
sex wala siya.
fall, if you do not fall to either cisgender male or female, di ka straight, then automatically you're part of the community, and the term is technically abnormal or bayot buang.
Right. And at that time also, like conversations like this, and you know the pain that the community is feeling is not generally talked about by even like trusting your co-queer person. It's not as rampant as now, no? Mainly because I think in our time with Doc Emma, mental health was not also a thing, no?
It wasn't.
It was all structured into patterns of growth, milestones that was expected for you as a person, no? So there weren't any mental health problems. Discrimination wasn't really a thing. It's more of like boxing you out of the norm, as what Doc Emma
And from
said.
the leadership standpoint also, although there was no specific prototype, but the profiles of what they call excellent and acceptable comes in very specific forms.
Right.
No? So I remember it back in college. Now I didn't have a coming out story. I was out the whole time. Technically, my family knew it before I did.
Good for you.
So pag 2 years old pala na ako, nipatong ko, bayot na.
Right.
So they knew it before I did. But to cut the story, when I was a student leader back then, the restrictions were very in your face. You
Right.
have to act a certain way. You have to speak a certain way. You have to cut your hair a certain way, because that is more acceptable and more proper, as they would say.
I think in this context, it would be very nice if we talk it like in a more categorical way. Ba? Like it's nice that Doc Emma has opened the academe part. no?
Right.
So like back then, we can start talking about in the academe area, how was pride or being queer at that time.
Siguro back then in
Was.
the academe, because I'm a professor now, back then, I wouldn't say it was brushed off. I wouldn't also say that it was warmly embraced.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of tolerance, but the fight has always been, or the equation has always been, so that your gayness becomes acceptable, you have to be excellent at something.
Excellent. Yeah, correct.
So kailangan ka bright, kailangan ka creative.
And then let me just share that the school, when I was growing in elementary and high school, was a safe space for me. No, at that time, did you go kebaw? I didn't know if like I was queer. I was not. I know I was just a creative person.
Right.
But then your leaders, who are your teachers and principals, were actually queer people.
Yes.
Right.
No, so that's why it became safe, because I can be flamboyant, I can dance, I can sing, I can act, no, and be excellent.
Right.
Because I'm different, but at the same time, I see my teachers na I think were queer. Okay, it's okay to be like this here. It's a safe space. So,
In big universities, their mandate, magod, is very specific.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it was ever intentional for big universities not to accept or not to welcome queerness. But siguro they were so focused on the intellectual molding of people that they have
Right.
to be, good citizens. And sometimes that in itself would compromise the personality or how you see yourself, because you have to fit on a certain mold. But now we're very lucky because there are several universities that are adapting to change, and I think
Yes.
that's very important, no? Because as cliche would say, the only constant thing in this world is change.
Yes.
And so if you are not changing, and then you become irrelevant to the necessities of time.
Right.
So that's why even Catholic universities are actually pushing the conversations
Yeah.
of how they can be progressive and how they're able to support not just the queer students but all students in general, because we all come
Yeah.
from different size, shapes, and colors.
As a student.
And yeah, I really think Pride Month isn't just really a celebration. It's a reminder po, or a call to universities nga manuals, yes, as we said, manuals are created way back years ago pa, nga, allyship isn't existing, the term inclusivity did not exist. But at the same time, I'm very much sure I can see already, especially with the school I was from, and with how students now are helping also putting it out there that the manual has to be changed, that it has to be known already nga a lot of identities are existing, a lot of this and that are existing already. And now I'm already seeing some of the universities may not have adapted to such change yet, but of course I'm very much sure it's a call already nga, if not now, then when? That cliche term, as cliche it may seem. Pero of course, I think it's already a known nga kanang transgender can flaunt their long hairs, where lesbians can now are allowed now to wear pants aside from skirts and normal for female uniforms and so much more. And I think not everyone pa not all universities pa, but somehow we're getting there. So I'm hoping all universities
Yeah, and I
will
think
adapt na ba.
right. It's very important, Mongod, because the academe is the platform where we shape.
Right, it's forming and
For-
norming.
because-
Yeah,
inclusive.
forming and norming, and
Right.
you shape a child's identity, and this is the time where they absorb a lot. They get to know more about themselves and the world specifically. So that's why it's very important that this space is also given much importance in injecting this kind of narrative and modules, manuals, or whatever framework there is, which I think DEIB is important to be taught. So GSC, I think it's already there, and just be practiced, but not just in paper or in the manual. But for me, the most important persons that has to be trained in the academe are the teachers, the faculty, and the people around them, the
Right.
janitors,
Staffs,
the
not
cafeteria ladies, the security guards,
Yes.
in by the gate, because again, safe spaces cannot be safe spaces if not everyone is aligned to be practicing a certain framework such as DEIB. So I'm glad that the schools are opening up, but it doesn't mean that you allow your students to wear certain uniforms that make them feel that they are accepted or that they prefer is already the end goal.
Yeah.
No, by the end of the day, policies should always be the end goal because it's what protects the given available
Siguro
opportunity.
aside from not to be on the defense of the universities, because I work closely with them,
Yeah.
in almost all the universities. But I think siguro it is also very important for the universities to be reminded that part of our role as administrators is to really guide students' character formation. And part of doing the character formation is not dissing their identity or how they see themselves. Because at the end of the day, as educators, we want the students to succeed. We
Right.
want them to become active contributors to the society,
Louder.
regardless of gender or regardless of their preferences. So I would understand siguro the fear or the challenge of administrators trying to follow the mandate. But if we cannot create that manggod at home or in school, then we would still have to resolve these issues in the workplace.
Right. Or in the community.
In the community, which we
Yeah.
are doing now. And it's
Right.
very hard to re-educate and unlearn so many things that we have gotten from when we were students.
And because
Yeah.
that's happening, Doc, no? That's why siguro what's happening in schools and at home now, in the household, is baliktad na. The children are the ones dictating their parents or the school to adopt into
Right.
what's happening now around the world. So I'm not saying that all schools or the academy or parents are all the same, but because the education is happening in the community in third spaces, as I
Right.
call it,
Yeah.
where in fact it should be in their first space, in their second space, so that they become a more how do I call it?
More inclusive.
More inclusive when they
Right.
go to the community na
I
or
even
in open
remembered it
spaces.
during a few of our conversations when we did the second run for DEI na the notion was always, why are we having the same people attend the same things?
Right. And why are we always training and talking
Why are
only
we-
on Pride Month?
Yes, and only with LGBTQIA plus people. I mean, for me, it's redundant. It's a waste
Right.
of space and energy because the people that you're talking to knows the basics already. So, wala na yung value proposition ng conversation.
And that also shows why our policies that has been lobbied there for years get stuck ba? Because the people fighting for it are the same,
same
people,
people.
the same
That's
LGBT
true.
people fighting for it because we've read the bill.
Right.
Yeah.
But if everyone out there can read the bill, it's for everyone, not just LGBTQIA plus people. So GSC is for everyone. You have your own So GSC. But again, if we continue to fight side by side with the same people, the norm of understanding is that that privilege, as they call it, the bill, is only for the people fighting for it.
Right.
So that's why I think that's then.
It's time to pop the bubble.
Right.
It's time
So
to burst
the now
the
that we're
bubble.
creating, just like to share with Doc Emma and the rest of the advocates here in Cebu, is that we have to stop talking to the same people,
People,
every year.
right.
We have to stop doing the same activities that gather the same people every year and open the space to those people in our bigger community
Yeah.
that play a big role in the formation
Correct.
of our children in terms of values.
That's always how I lay it down to different audiences. Because I, for one, am very well immersed with DEI and so GSC
Yeah.
discussions. And one of my most challenging sessions was with a group of Muslim community where I was invited to discuss DEI and so GSC. So I had to make sure that I am not challenging their doctrine, that I'm not, I will not be able to insult any of their beliefs, so on and so forth. But that's the purpose of having a conversation. I would always say that the purpose of having a conversation is not to agree.
Right.
Because we will never agree at everything.
Yes.
We come from
Right.
different backgrounds, we come from different universities, our upbringings are entirely different. So the point of having a conversation, if it's not to agree, is basically just to understand.
And to find the common ground.
Right. I may not agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from. And because because I understand where you're coming from, and then we can work on a common ground that will benefit the straight guys and the LGBTQ community. Because useless man if we still continue and allow ourselves to be fractioned over topics that concerns the entire humanity, no? Even I'll segue even in the HIV advocacy part. The people that are talking about HIV advocacies are either the patients or the ones that are already advocating
Yeah.
for it. But if you
Right.
look at the statistics, we have to really go back to grassroots level.
Right.
We have to go back to the universities because whether we acknowledge it or not, the cases now are from younger generations. No, we were even very sad when the news popped a few weeks ago
10
that
years
the
old.
10, 12 years,
12 years old.
I mean, asa man nagikuha ang 10 to 12 years old. And what people don't understand is the HIV conversation, although it's very health related, and it's encompassed with so many factors. You have socio-economic factor, you have lack of education factor, you have inaccessibility of healthcare delivery system, you have stigma and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So if kami lang gihapon, kita ra gihapon ang magstorya, I mean, we will never be able to address and have kanang real conversation as to how we're going to solve
And
it.
that's the beauty of this table ba, no? Segue, nice segue, Doc, no? Understood the academe is starting to transform,
Yeah.
and I hope it becomes more open and understand that it goes beyond the uniform and the haircut. But now that we're opening the topic of HIV ba, no, and how it's the same pattern because the HIV campaigns or awareness campaigns are all driven by LGBT advocates.
Right.
So the perception in the community is also like, oh, because they are the victims,
Yeah.
Correct.
they are the
The
spreaders.
equation is HIV equals LGBT.
Yes.
Correct. And it's beautiful, as what I've said, that this table is represented by an ally,
Right.
a cisgender female who's actually a straight woman,
Correct.
Ayana, who's actually in the HIV awareness campaigns in advocates. What made you join?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. So, because I'm also in healthcare, so I started when I was a student. So I knew that sitting there, I wanted to learn more about it. And then when I was exposed to SOGI with the HIV advocacy, when I transitioned to become a licensed pharmacist, I had this urge to give back to the community. So I wanted to give a voice, because being an ally, you don't carry the stories and talk over. There's certain groups of people, the LGBT community. It's more of like you bring the value of inclusivity to people, because specifically a few months back for Women's Month, we had a HIV awareness talk to a specific groups of women. So they, mga mothers ang nakakasagara. So we tailor fit the HIV advocacy talk
Right, for them.
mothers.
Yes, for that specific demographic.
Yes.
Correct.
So
Beautiful,
it's still
no?
not just the education part na sa schools, institution, it's also going back to the basic unit of the society, which is family.
Family.
Right.
So the mother side, actually after the HIV awareness talk, one mother was opening up about having the child ng LGBT, mas ni open yung education, mas na open yung acceptance yung anak, because it's more science-based, driven. So I also don't like the stigma of like bio LGBT of the HIV, because it's a disease at the end of the day. It's just like if you have other
Diabetes,
yes,
hypertension.
hypertension,
No, not the
exactly.
same mode of transmission, but it's the
still
same.
stigma.
Pero siguro lang, I think that is the what do they call that? I think that is the equation that is being presented, because a good chunk or a good statistics of the numbers involve manggod the community.
Key
Involve the
population.
male-to-male,
The male-to-male
But
transmission.
I have
But it's not just the LGBTQ community,
Understood.
manggod.
I'll just go piggyback on what you said a while ago, that it was so alarming to see 10, 12 years old
Right.
being affected with HIV. But I'm so sorry, guys. There are numbers that are months-old babies, 1, 2 years old, that are also HIV positive. I'm so sorry. It's not in the news boards. But that alone speaks that it was transmitted most likely by a maternal
Correct.
transmission ba?
Yes.
So, I don't know. I just want to challenge the media men. No, is it because we don't want HIV to be correlated with motherhood, with women? Because
Or siguro
it will
because-
disturb
right.
the pattern of HIV equals LGBT people.
Right.
So,
And I think it's a fair play narrative, manggod, and it's, as they say, if you want things to be done very quickly, you have to have a single opponent. And in this equation, unfortunately,
It's us.
It's us. Kita na siya. So when we recalibrated Mr. Gay Sugbo, which is very heavily advocacy driven, I made it a point that the official statement would be: if you see LGBT as part of the problem, then we will be the solutions for it.
right, wow.
Because if you will attack us that we're causing the problems, then if it is a problem, then we can help you solve the problem.
Right.
Now the envelope and the conversation is on you na.
Yeah.
Now you have members of the community that are willing to send their experts, that are willing to facilitate the testing kits. So what's stopping you from
Right.
getting things done? I mean,
Right.
if you really want to be part of the solution to a problem, regardless if you're straight or gay, if it is a health concern and we see it as a health concern, then everybody should get involved.
And then, it's beautiful that way because what's happening now, no, in the context of then and now, HIV equals male-to-male transmission equals to LGBT has always been the header, no? And
Always
what's
been the
beautiful
banner.
in the recent years, actually this year, media people, our media friends, even those we don't know, are actually starting to change the narrative.
Right.
And that's what's beautiful. It might not be everyone, because again, human interest is controversy, or controversy is human interest, so that's why they delve into that. But there are actually writers and media boards that are actually joining the progress
Right.
of the HIV awareness. No, I saw this. No, a writer came up to me and gave me a manuscript before it was approved, and it was like HIV cases rising because of more male to male transmission, blah blah blah. And And then he said, how can I change this?
Right.
And then I said, you can have the same news, the same facts, the same accurate numbers, and just put a header that's more positive.
Yeah.
You can always say that the rise of cases are also a rise of awareness
Correct.
because more
People are
testings are
tested.
available.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So that's better news. I mean, with how the world is so chaotic now, please do not add more problems as I scroll through my phone.
Right.
Bring
And it's exponential, Manggod. The reason why many people, or the reason why the statistics for the past few years are very low, it's because everybody's afraid to get tested.
it's the
Yes.
stigma.
And then
No?
nobody really wants it. But now, Manggod, it's encouraged. It's something that is lobbied.
Right.
So, proportionally, if more people will get tested, then hypothetically, you will also get higher cases.
And available treatment is there.
It's there
It's
already.
free.
It's no longer a death sentence.
And I tried to give them this analogy ba nga. You know, when a disease has stigma, when there is still discrimination and negativity, even when rising cases or treatments are available, is there. Consider coronavirus or the recent pandemic ba?
Yeah.
What's that nga pandemic?
COVID.
No? Everyone wants to be tested. The media, the LGUs
Right.
are pushing people to get tested, and people are so eager to be tested
Yeah.
because they want to be treated right away.
Right.
Because nindot kay ang pamaagi on how the process from getting infected to getting well.
Right.
And we have that. We have that with HIV. No? Testing
Yeah.
to treatment.
We have that now. Because sa una Manggod, ang poster for HIV and AIDS were really the very difficult posters to look at.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the
But
people
my
that
point
are
is,
dying
if
now.
the LGU, media, our leaders in all sectors act like it was a pandemic,
Yeah.
imagine how we can test everyone. Although there's that
There's a law,
privacy,
Manggod.
no?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean is like making it into a positive
Right.
news ba na testing available. But hey, if you are positive, then there's a treatment. Then there's you equals you, no?
Right.
Undetectable equals untransmittable. So if that's the kind of news we're bringing into to our people, no? And I think it's we're going there.
Right.
We're going there
I
because
think
we're
it's
seeing more
also-
testings, right, from advocates.
Yes.
I think it's also high time to revisit the actual bill that covers HIV policies.
Right.
Because sa bill Manggod yun itself, or sa law Manggod itself, it's not mandatory.
Yeah.
The testing becomes optional. Well, we understand that and we respect human autonomy. Autonomy, correct. I'm just making sure that the correct term is given. Human autonomy, the ability for the person to decide. Well, we respect
Right.
that. Epidemic like this, Manggod, calls for a more drastic measure.
Right.
So I think it's a good time to revisit and see if we can include it as like part lang good of the APE checklist that most
Yes.
companies will actually do, or a routine check. Because
Yeah.
if you're just going to go to the clinic and have just HIV test lang, whether you acknowledge it or not, you feel na you are already stigmatized. You feel that you're already judged even before doing the actual test.
Right.
But if you include it as part of a regular medical routine
Ay, normal
checkup,
naman
just
din
like
eh.
every
Right.
other thing, and then it becomes normal. It becomes more acceptable, and then treatment also becomes readily available.
Yeah, and then again, when we see rising cases, it doesn't always mean there's high instances of, unprotected sex or, all these, crazy things they throw out to us. It's also mostly because there's rampant testing everywhere.
Right.
There's advocacy groups such as Mr. Gay Cebu, Hook Up the Musical.
Right.
There are other forms in creating awareness on HIV, and there are a lot of support groups as well. And you've really spread yourselves out there, like how the virus is spreading. No, I mean you're actually outpacing the virus.
Coronavirus virus.
Di ba? Spread gugma,
Gugma.
not the virus.
Right. So it's stop
there's
stigma, spread
advocates,
gugma.
there's Mr. Gay Cebu, Hook Up the Musical, and many, many groups. Even the universities are opening to testing.
Testing,
yes.
No? So that's why, again, I keep on repeating when I'm given this table or this platform to talk and be heard, that, rising cases does not equally mean that it's getting bad. No, rising cases means there's more testing, meaning the awareness campaigns are working, meaning that, there are more support groups available, and then, treatment is
Right.
There.
The number will speak for itself because statistics is, it's something that we cannot argue with.
Right.
So the numbers are there. But I think siguro the shift of the focus should be more on the accessibility of the treatment and the antiretroviral therapy and in taking care of the patients compared to being stuck to just statistics.
Right.
Because statistics is already there. I mean, when the Department of Health releases its statistics, that has been studied, that has been verified, it has already served its purpose. But if you want to address it just like any other problems, other than doing mango the root cause analysis, you need to have tangible strategies for you to be able to address it. And we cannot do it alone.
Right.
And sometimes, because even for me, because I'm a nurse, sometimes when you are a medical professional, it becomes a very difficult conversation. Because ang hunahuna mo rin sakit, makatakot, so on and so forth. But there's Hook Up the Musical, which is a creative attempt to embody a story of how people living with HIV really experience stuff.
Right.
And so that's what makes a lot of difference. No, back then when you do something like Hook Up the Musical, the audience primarily would be gay supporters and just us. But now it's partnered by different LGUs, it's
Right,
partnered by
right.
different universities, and the conversation has really expanded from our little bubble into a community discussion ba. And it does not have the eye to be very difficult all the time because there are creative storytellers, there are music writers, there are composers that gets the message and translate
Right.
it into something
It's
that's
more universal.
palatable
Yes.
and more accepting to different demographics.
Right. And then no, going back to the context of then and now, it's wonderful to see how the kind of battles we're going into, no, as a community and as our allies. Before we were fighting for a seat on the table,
We're fighting for
being
space.
heard,
Yes.
space. How we dress up, our
Right.
expression, and now we're going in deeper and deeper into different pillars of the pains of
Correct.
being an LGBT or as a community ba. And that's how I can see that now there's really progress, no matter how slow or how small progress is available or is happening now. But we're moving there ba. And again, those listening to us that do not know what we're fighting for or what kind of pain we're feeling, it's all available there. No,
Right.
more BL stories are available. The stories about pain, love,
Yeah.
disease, and everything. It's all there. No, just read, Google it, and then which sides to show support or just being morally there. And we owe it to allies also.
Right.
No, before. Naman dyan ang allies, elementary pa, there's always that
allies.
gay student.
Right.
No? Were you a gay
Yeah.
student when you were like so little?
I was
makigduwa o-
gay the whole time.
Like you were that
was
one
that-
male friend
Yes.
among a girl group when you were
Yeah.
elementary. Like you're always the one protecting the girls.
Right.
No, you were always like the best
mother.
best
Right.
in kanang shatong or whatever. No, or Chinese garter.
Mother.
No?
Para.
And that ba, like it's beautiful to see that it blossomed into someone
Yeah.
like you.
Ako sad because
And like you.
I come from a very strong leadership magut and community work background. So when I did my last dissertation for management, I even challenged the theory on LGBTQ managers feeling that they are marginalized. Because that is always the context magot. That if you're part of the LGBTQ, automatic marginalized tayon ka.
Right.
So I wanted to challenge that thought, and truth be told, from the 30 participants that I have, I did a live experience phenomenology study, and then wala may gibutang dito nga they were marginalized or they felt marginalized because they were gay.
Right.
Sometimes even the word marginalization needs self-introspect. Why do I feel like I'm marginalized? Is it
Right.
really happening? Or is it an inherent thought nga because I'm part of the community, matik ka marginalized dayon ko? So, siguro back then, we would say that opportunities for gay men or lesbian are very scarce, no? Because it has always been fitting to a specific mold, especially
Right.
in the corporate world. But now, there's so many of us that are running businesses.
Yeah.
So, who's marginalized?
Actually, they're becoming influencers in many
Diba?
spaces. No, and gay men, lesbian people, and LGBT trans, they're now speakers of,
Right.
and not just in representing the community, but if you go to like the corporate or the BPOs, they're the trainers. No, they're the TLs. In
Speakers.
school, they are the teachers.
Correct.
No, at home, they're the ones who tell their parents, their grandparents what to wear,
Right.
where to buy, where to go. So times have been changing, no? And it's because of our fight to be always excellent, because that's the only way for us to be seen.
True.
No? Because there's always that stigma way back before that, oh, you're gay, you're a loser, or you're
Right.
gay, you're not
So you
part of
should
us.
be this.
So you should show that, you're really good in school, you should really be good in a certain
In
sport,
something.
in speaking, in singing, or whatever,
Right.
or in the parlor,
Yeah.
no? Because that was the value that we were given lang, so little. So we had to do that all the time. And up to now, there's still that
There
how
are
do we
still
call it?
industries nga very masculine dominated. So I think siguro the conversation should go beyond gender stereotyping and
Right.
policing. Because at the end of the day, businesses would not really mind what gender you have.
Yeah, it's the value that you
Do
bring.
you have enough knowledge? Is your skills at par? Are you efficient?
Right.
And is your character good enough to represent a specific brand or a specific company?
Correct.
If the answer are all yes, then it does not really matter if you're cisgender person or if you're part of the community.
Yeah, I think ganito, as what I tell my friends, like we're in a non-binary age, no, in era. Because again, there's no more talking about is she female,
Yeah.
is she
Yeah.
male, is she trans. Like it's again, what kind of value can you bring to the
Correct.
table?
And it's a conversation on humanity na.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think murag na-remind lang sa ko now, hearing you all. It seems like I'm an audience again in your speakerships. in the
sorry.
speakerships,
It's the age.
plural. But of course, it's an honor, no, to be here and hearing them again. But of course, as I can, like, I'm reminded of how I'm grateful enough to see a world in a very different light. Kay, if you keep on saying about how people on other people kay now pa na remind nga, I mean, now pa nakita ang value sa LGBT. Murag, all my life, I think my life's too colorful to think the other way around.
The other
Nga,
way around.
How I'm so surrounded with LGBTQIA plus community where I see nga I don't think the world is gonna be this colorful without you guys. Kaya ni dako ko nga kamo na ang ni-dominate. And hence,
That
I
means you're
don't
old.
see already. I mean, no.
The new age.
No, but at the end of the day, kay, as you can see now, atong you mentioned it earlier nga, the productions are beautiful because the people are handling it are the LGBTQ.
Siguro I'll piggyback on that because Matt and I grew up in an environment where we don't really have mentors and leaders who look like us or who open doors for
became
us. So it was very conscious for us and it was very intentional for us because we're in a small group also of leaders which happened to be all LGBTQ, no? As part of a small group. We were very conscious and intentional that if we didn't had this back then, we will be the ones to really create spaces.
Right.
So
Yeah.
kanang concept nga, if we don't have a seat on that table, we'll create the table, draw some chairs, and then invite people in. So now even in celebration of Pride Month, it's an open invitation for everybody.
Right.
So you have parents, you have teachers, you have religious group, you have people that will not only tolerate you, but will really challenge the value proposition and the character and the ethics that you're trying to bring in the table. I mean, if part magod ka sa LGBT, dili magod siya mawa ang hugyaw, no? Ang salada as we fondly term it. Not just siya yung salada. But in serious conversations, in conversations where you really have to put the teeth and you have to put your feet down, because conversations are important. When you talk about policies and regulations, when you talk about zero tolerance and discrimination, you have people like us and you have many allies and members of the LGBTQ community that you can actually sit down and have the intellectual discussion. Dili na lang siya hugyaw.
Right. And also, I'd like to say na this time ba, or in this era, it's so easy to come out already.
Yeah.
You know?
You
like,
don't have to na gay.
you don't have to hide or you don't even have to be in a closet
Yeah.
and be known who you are. Like by the end of the day, this is what I've been saying when in Cebu Pride. Na the goal for Cebu Pride movement is not to get everyone in march, but actually to stop Pride activities and Pride
Right.
events. We want to stop calling Pride and what it is now because we've already achieved the level of acceptance
Correct.
and embracing community community wherein we don't have to really march for our rights to be human
Right.
people.
It's
Ikaw
No?
pa naglakaw sa Pride March. Hindi pa siya kayo.
Right. And then at the
Labi na
same
karon taas ang
time,
rota.
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, we owe this to a constant group, even when we talk about then and now, there's
Right.
always this constant group who has always been by the side of our community, LGBTQIA+, and that's you guys, our allies ba. There's always that female group that always protects the gay children, no? So that's why we couldn't have done this or reached this far if we don't get reminded that there's one person, two person who believed in us and knew what we're really capable of.
And siguro we're lucky because we're surrounded bang good with so much love. Ako, for one, I can speak for myself. My number one allies are really my parents. It was my dad who first brought me my pair of high heels.
Wow.
My dad was the first one who encouraged me to do the piloka and everything. So my dad is really my number one supporter. And there was even a conversation where I asked ba nga, sure ka, dili ka uncomfortable nga lucky kayo ka niya, bayot kayo mo anak, as in bayot should kayo. And then he basically just told me na dili makuha na yung pagkalalaki just because his son is gay.
Right.
So I have always carried that narrative with me that I am my mother's son and my dad's daughter.
Yeah.
And you can be both at the same time.
Right.
That's
Because as long as you are a good person, as long as you're brought and set out to the world to
Hello,
do
tita,
good
tito.
things,
Your daughter's here.
dili gid siya mo matter. And
Because
so,
yacht means
because yacht means your
Your
own
own
truth.
truth.
And that's what the world deserves.
Yeah.
Everybody deserves your own truth. And we have come and gone several years and several fights of trying to fit to a certain mold and compromising ourselves when in fact the very reason why we're brought to this world is to become our full potential, and we would not be able to do that if we're very restricted. I'm not saying magpakawala. I'm not saying, all hell's loose on a Friday and just do whatever it is that you want. But what I'm saying is, it's important for us to be able to have these conversations in celebration of humanity.
Right.
Okay,
That's
we're all
always
different.
the goal.
Maura gyud na siya.
Yeah, and then that's a beautiful story
Yeah.
for Doc Evan. So much privilege to
Right.
her
I agree.
for having loving families since the very start. No, and that's why also in Cebu you don't see so much protest in Pride because we're so lucky
Cebu is a very loving community.
to have a community
Right.
who's accepting
That's
and
true.
most likely embracing.
Right.
That's why you don't see our pride marches with more placards, with more
Right.
fighting, accept
With
us,
more
accept
fighting
us,
and more
because we
shouting.
live in a community where most of the LGBTQ, if not all, are accepted,
Right.
or tolerated at the very least, but more likely accepted and embraced. But now we also see a bigger chunk of members of the community in the outskirts, in the
Right.
bukid, in the islands,
Silang
who
displaced.
still have these stories of discrimination even down to their households. That's why the movement never stops for this group, and the fight to HIV
Right.
awareness.
not until it vanishes.
Yeah, to continue the allyship that you present, because we're not fighting for our close circles or the people in Cebu City alone, but we're fighting to send a message out there to the farthest areas of Cebu. No, look at us, hey young kid, you are not alone. We will be with you. And at the same time, the message goes to the parents. Uy, look at us here.
Correct.
No, this is what you can achieve
And I
when you
think-
start loving your family. That's why
Right.
the conversation should not just be us talking.
Right.
Should be tita, tito.
Right.
Invite them here. No?
Yes.
That's why
Yes.
That's
policemen, military,
why even for Mr.
invite
Gisubo,
them
it
here.
becomes a family reunion because all the
Right.
titas and the titos are watching.
We need to put in more representations of embracing allies.
Right.
No? And that is the goal for Cebu Pride in the next years. No more no more. But lesser of the LGBTQIA, because you've heard us for
Yeah.
more than 10 years or more.
Siguro what we're missing sa equation, no, especially on the household, is we are so hyper-focused, Manggod, on the LGBTQ child. We often forget that any LGBTQ child has a parent that also needs to understand the transition that the child
Yeah.
is going
Right.
through.
Support.
So I always have that conversations with parents because I happen to work with different PTA man nga organizations. I always tell them that you cannot give what you do not have.
Right.
So if you cannot counsel your child child, or if you cannot give the right support to your child, they will get it from somewhere. And we're not even sure if the intentions of helping your son or your daughter is really genuine. So, nilayo na gani sa pamilya, mawala pa, masaag pa. So I think it's also important for us to consider members of the LGBTQ community that I think there are conversations that are difficult for parents. Number one, because I want to believe that it's coming from a place of concern and or love. No, usahay, atong mga parents very traditional, dili sila ganahan ma-aparta sa LGBTQ because di sila ganahan mawawanta. Lisod ang life sa bayot, lisod ang life sa tomboy. They don't want us to be stigmatized, so on and so forth. But the actual resolution should be bigger than the fear.
Right.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Definitely.
I mean, if you fear for your child to be stereotyped as something that's not useful to the society, that's the more reason why you have to debunk that and prove that even if your son or your daughter is gay or lesbian, he will be a contributing member to the society.
Right. And that's why we continue to represent. That's why we continue to strive hard for excellence.
Of course.
Because we are not just fighting for our younger selves and say, "Oy, look where we are now."
Right.
But these are for parents who have children that might be LGBTQIA+, and say, "Oy, Doc Emma is very successful and she is part of the community. Matt is doing well and he's part of that. So I shouldn't fear for my child now being LGBT and become, a loser someday because I see these role models, these people, no, and creatives who have been flourishing in their
Right.
craft and in their industry, and they are part of the community." So Mona, I'm glad, no, like even me, to be honest, I kind of have a coming out story, but my mom was like, "I knew about it."
I know about it, diba?
And I've been trying my best, no, to really figure myself out because back then I knew I was straight. I just very creative. I almost got married. I was engaged, but then a sudden shift happened, and I like, oh, this is how it is to be loved, and not looking at whoever is loving you, but
Right.
it's love. I just need love, whoever you are, and I felt that. I was like, okay, it's weird, but it's okay. And then
It's love.
Yeah, love. That's why there's love wins. Love is love. Because by the end of the day, you can feel love everywhere. And I tell people, love shouldn't be just coming from a partner. Love could be from friends, from
the
family, from your
community.
pet, from a
Right.
plant. No, so that's why this is where we get our power.
Yeah.
Now, once we start realizing and finding sources of love, so that we continue to overflow ourselves with love, we can share it.
Right.
Yes.
No, and that's where our community, how would I say it?
Thrive.
Are experts of, because again we grew
Lived
up.
experience.
Yeah,
Yes.
we grew up, Manggod, looking for validation and
Right.
love. Because in our mind, di ko love because bayot ko.
I'm
Di
different.
ko accepted because different
Right.
ko. So, in those years of, putting ourselves in a bubble, we've always been like, mas ko mangitag love.
Right.
Like, diba? That's why we have craft. We're very creative. So,
That's why we have a lot of children.
correct. No, we create our own chosen
Yeah.
families.
Children.
Yeah. So, Kanye, I have a question to our allies. I'm very curious ba. Like, how is it in your own households? Because I bet you have a lot of gay friends, lesbian friends, or people from the community friends ba. And they also knew you before. Maybe you don't have any friends from the community, and now you're very engaged in our community. You are very engaged in our community, where way back dili kayo.
Yeah.
So was there like a shift in how your parents see you? Uy, ayaw kay kuyog ana nila kay mabayot ka kapil, or ayaw kay kuyog ana nila kay magka-HIV ka. Like, is that something can you
Yeah,
tell
of
us about
course.
it?
I just want to say how this particular activity in this first soji that I ever encountered with along with my HIV advocacy. So we were told, okay, there are lanes here, and there are labels of like, okay, babae, or laki, ano na. And then they will ask, so who were you attracted to years prior? And then you'll be lining up. So I was like, that was a paradigm shift for me. That was when I changed my perspective, because I always stayed in one lane. So I was like, why is everyone moving? It's like, okay, who do you love now? The change, the shift, everyone's
Right.
shifting. And then who do you see yourself loving in 5 to 10 years? Everyone shifted to, I was like, it was like a light bulb moment. It's like, oh, that is why. Love is love. Like your full expression of yourself, your evolution, it always changes. Just like the world, it's survival of the fittest. Everything changed, and the only thing constant thing in the universe. And that's when it's like, oh, that's the beauty of the LGBT. You're like, you can be a different person. You can create your own reality and embrace your truest self. You can reinvent yourself, and that's beautiful. Because in a straight community, it's monochromatic. You're like, oh, by 30 you need to have kids. You need to
There are
your body's
milestones.
And the path to life is never straight, and so am I.
Yes. And I appreciate that. It's like it removes the stress from a woman. I'm like, I'm 28. Should I be thinking of like having kids at 30, being married? I'm like,
Right.
I look at these vibrant communities that I'm also beautiful to be a part of as an ally, and I feel like there's infinite potential.
And that's part of Soji discussion because what people don't understand, Magud, Soji is not just bayot-bayot.
Right.
Gender roles, culture acclimate,
Yes.
identity expression, so on and so forth is covered. So ang akong anchoring is, if you're a human being, you definitely have a Soji. Unless you consider yourself a plant.
And our straight
Yes.
friends are always in, kada gani makakita sa like IQ test or personality test. Suji is like that.
Yes.
You get to know
You get
yourself
to know
more
yourself.
Yeah.
That's
when you
right.
start to learn Soji.
Right.
And then you'll have all these like what Ayana
Light
said,
bulb
light bulb moments. Na, "Uy,
Yes.
bitaw, no?" And I'm happy that Ayana said that it's love. By the end of the day, no matter how we shift, or I should call it resiliency, no, our community is very resilient because of those pain points, because of those shifts, because of those reinventions that we do just to fit in
Just to fit
molds,
in a
just
specific
to
mold, right.
get a seat on the table. We do a lot of reformations with ourselves. But what we keep and hold so dear is love. No, we should never run out of love, because if people can't give us love, then there's still love for ourselves remaining.
Yes.
No, and it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Ayana. How about you?
Yes.
Like, I know your mom. I met your mom, one of the most vibrant, supportive mom. But way
Yes.
back before you entered this community,
Before
what
you
was the
became our
relation?
daughter.
Yeah.
The daughter.
What was the relationship like with your mom before, and then when you entered and drowned with so much gayness?
Drowned.
What was your relationship
rainbow.
like?
But yeah, I think the very reason why as a freelance host and voiceover, every time I host inclusive spaces events for LGBTQIA plus community, I always consider myself as not your girl, but your proudest and loudest ally. And I think it's because of how my mom is the proudest and loudest ally in her own environment too. So surrounded po siya as a teacher in her school. Her mag-make sayang mga things, ang mga projects sa school are all LGBTQIA plus community. So I live with an ally mom too. So regardless if yung daughter and son dili LGBTQIA plus community, but I think kasi surrounded man jud siya with LGBT individuals, she became an ally, which influenced, I think, for me, influenced with how I immediately woke up in this world.
Na colorful na.
Yes, nga ally did so. And I think, na-realize po na ko now lang hearing you all, na I think it's one of the reasons po why I'm very much a fan of drag. No, kaya it's so a hyper meaning jud of representation sa
Right.
LGBT nga, you can be gay. And then at 12 midnight, you can be the
You can be the
loudest
diva.
diva na lang. Like, it's so beautiful nga, kind of, being an ally ba nga, mo open ka niyo doors, jud nga, mo, ipagawas niyo yung very true self every now and then. So, I think it's the very reason why it sparks so much joy nga magpadong na ang Pride Month or magpadong na ang Saturday kay mo MC for the drag queens. And even, it also sparks joy to me if na ako'y gig for Queen of this, dili na ko ma-excite
Dili
pag
na binibini.
Mas may excite ko nga Queen.
Right.
Or Mr. Gay Sobo this 28,
And then you were
27.
able to create your brand of Angelina Batucan, the host.
The ally.
The ally. No, and you get to be more enjoyable on stage. And we see you, the real you, hosting when you host queen pageants. No?
Right.
But I think it's also me paying it forward.
Right.
Because I owe as well so much of my creativity, the jokes I have, the wit I showcase, it's because of you guys too. I mean, come on. I mean, mahir mo kung jokes coming from your jokes. Mahir mo kung mga banters
How
coming from
dare it.
everybody's banters.
Like,
So
feel exposed.
it's me paying it forward to the community as well, who shaped me for who I
Yeah,
am.
and then speaking of jokes, no, and resiliency in general in our community has always been, being the loudest, being the most happy looking,
Right.
telling jokes, making everyone laugh. Because you are very privileged when you see us doing that in front of you, because it means it's a safe space for us.
Right.
No, because the space or the initial spaces, the first and second spaces that we have at home or in school, we don't get to be that kind of person. So we create that outlet, and you see us telling jokes and being so happy. It's because you made us feel safe. No, and that's true when they say behind a very happy person or happy gay person is a river of tears.
Yeah.
No, and then
There's a
it's-
lot of struggles there.
yeah, and it's still then and now there's still that,
Yeah.
because we never achieved that level of acceptance everywhere, my God. But maybe lesser in terms
O
of
bitaw siguro nang moingon sila, why are you still trying to fight? Or why are you still marching?
Yeah.
Or why are you still trying to do Pride Month, so on and so forth? Because the fight is not over yet. We will stop doing what we are doing if we get not just the recognition, but the equity that all human beings deserve.
Right.
And you're
Kaya
not
di-
going anywhere.
And we're not going anywhere.
Right.
Because while other people think that we deserve crumbs, no, we want the whole bread. Just like everybody else.
I just need a slice.
Hey, my God, sometimes, even with me, personally working with different corporations, I always align the value proposition and what it actually means. Because if you're just using the gay community as a standard compliance
Right.
for your inclusion and for your diversity spin because it's June, I don't want to partner with
No,
you.
thank you.
Right.
Because partnership for me means really investing my time, my effort, and really building relationships. So if you can only see me during Pride Month, then I don't want to see you na lang.
Right.
I would rather focus my attention into more tangible things that I can really contribute to the community and vice versa.
And I love that we've really went through a lot of phases. No? Like we talked about
then
academe,
and now.
community, health, and even household.
Speaking of health, ato isingit. Governor Pam just signed
Oh yeah,
Yes.
That is an
one of the
achievement in
biggest
Cebu.
leap, no? The biggest leap we've done as a community in Cebu, wherein our governor has signed an executive order. It's executive order number 29, wherein it's right to care,
Right to care.
technically giving opportunities to partners to care, no, for their LGBT partners. Also, it might not be the goal yet, no, of an ordinance of right to care and medical decision making, but for a leader to intentionally do that, no, sign in front of us, parents, Muslim community, and a lot of sectors in minority,
Right.
is an eye opener. Banga, uy, we are at a different level of advocacy now.
Right.
No, because when leaders are involved in the march towards an advocacy, that is already a level of we're getting there.
Right. And that's the hardest pillar to actually
Right.
maneuver.
Right.
No? Because the advocacy work, the education part, we have that in the bag. We have good
Right.
speakers. We have access to so many things like. But
The
policies and
leaders.
regulations, mandates, ordinances, bills, laws, executive orders, presidential decree. It takes a lot of effort and understanding and really learning.
Right. And then I have to say, and this is not because I want to be political, but let's just say, I'll not tell her name. Let's just say when a leader, they if they're asked to do magod that, or if they're given an opportunity to do that, they put themselves on a chopping board.
Right.
Because they know that this community has also how do I say it?
It's always yan ang
antagonist.
nasa-
Huh?
Yeah.
Opposing.
Opposing communities
Of
also. So if you're a leader, that's why we don't get to have leaders who can fully submit themselves to a certain advocacy, because a certain community will always have an opposing community,
Yes.
no?
And it almost becomes magud choosing one over the other. It should not be the case.
But then for a leader who like, I don't care, let's do this. Because if you look at it in a different perspective, there's always opposition to something new. No,
Yes.
because they don't get the idea or
challenge the status quo.
no, they challenge the
And there
status
is
quo.
the normal psychological retaliation period.
Right.
It happens everywhere. People just don't adapt to it, but that
Yeah.
should not be
If
enough
they don't
reason
understand
for-
it, they're against it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then, to our female friends and allies, that's how women empowerment came to
Right.
you.
The
So
right to suffrage.
It took 100 more years for you guys
Yes.
to get education, to get to
to
vote.
be in the spaces that they are now.
Right, to get to work, wherever you want, where to work,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're doing that as well, but it's also more of us, Mongod. It's like the acceptance, the discrimination, the bullying, and that's part of it. No, so for a leader to do that and waive the opportunity to be loved by everyone, that was a bold move.
It is.
That was a bold move.
A huge
And take
step.
note, it's not just GovPam also.
Yeah.
There's a right to care ordinance being read right now in Cebu City. Right now, they're just making sure that it's tailor fit to the setup
To the
in
setup
Cebu
in Cebu,
City.
of course.
And I think Mandaue City was the very first city
Yeah.
to have an
Yes.
ordinance for anti-discrimination. No, and I hope the other cities will follow suit. GovPam, iba mo ganang governor kay daghan kay municipalities, and these are the communities
The
where we
influence and
want
the
to
mandate
reach
more.
ba. Yeah.
It's
So,
different.
I'm very happy, and that EO to be signed in front, not just the LGBTQIA plus community, but again, signed in front of Muslim
It was
community,
not a
deaf community,
It was
parents,
not an
senior citizen.
LGBTQ activity.
Right,
The DEI
right.
summit was attended by parents, grandparents,
Right.
Muslim representations, a few indigents,
And
and so
I-
it was an open invitation.
Right. And
So
I like how we're doing it now.
if wala ka
I'm
dito,
FOMO.
It's
if,
okay.
if wala ka dito, it does not necessarily mean that you were not invited because
Yeah.
it was an open invitation for everybody. So
Right.
if you want that space, we will welcome you with
Social
all
love.
arms.
And this is what we told the organizing group when we were organizing it. Na even, call us intentional, but even a slight picture of seeing a senior citizen in the photo,
Right.
bringing a pride flag, or a Muslim person bringing a pride flag, when it goes out online, it shows a representation.
I mean,
That is me. That
Right.
looks like me. I'm a senior citizen. Na senior citizen bringing a pride
Right.
flag. I was like, okay naman di ay.
Even in advocacy, piggybacking on what Yana said earlier, we tailor fit lectures on specific demographics. What people don't understand is we don't do a one-size-fits-all in
Right.
terms of having these discussions. If you're talking to a senior high school student, especially in Catholic institutions, then we focus on abstinence and we focus on the scientific discussions. If you go to the grassroots level, not necessarily academically influenced or does not have access to actual education, then you have to speak the language that they understand.
Right.
When you talk to parents, you anchor on parenthood.
Right.
When you talk to sex workers, because there are also demographics for them, then you also use the language that they understand.
Right.
So if you look at it from an overarching compass, it's really a discussion on humanity. But it's just very easy to have one word or have a specific demographic to make the equation sensible. And that's what we should stop. DEI pride should not just be for LGBTQ. It's for everybody who has felt discriminated, who has felt that they were not part of a specific organization, or who have unintentionally felt that they were left out.
Right.
It's an open invitation for everybody. The same is true for HIV. Now, it does not mean that you need to have HIV for you to learn these things. Because at any given point, it could be
It's universal.
right, it could be your ate, it could be your kuya, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, and the only time wherein we really care for it is if it involves somebody that's within our circle.
Yes.
So, if you want to be contributing members to the society, I'm not asking you to facilitate a very big event like we do.
Right.
Yeah, open invitation for everybody, but at least have the decency to have the conversations at the comfort of your home.
Right.
Yes.
Or in the language that you speak and understand. Kaya haram na magsugod.
And we're getting there. No, someday DEI could be in caravans to PTA meetings. into
It was even refreshing that the army joined us. The
military
CMO
joined us, no? And then,
CMO
we have
battalion
the
joined
PNP
us.
joined us as
Right.
we created the Power Alliance. And again, we wouldn't say that we achieved the goal if not every key person in the community has fully understood what it is to be human.
Correct.
No, and what a human person needs to feel loved and accepted, no, and embraced. So by the end of the day, the movement never stops. No, and this does not only ato yung balik-balikon only affect the LGBTQIA+. It involves all the sectors who felt that they do not belong. That's why we use DEIB, or diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, as a framework, because it's something more universal. It's something covering all sectors, and anchored in love.
Yeah.
And
And in the context of comparison siguro, especially for the younger LGBTQ generation, I'm not saying I'm very old, but for the babies, no, for the nakshis, I think it's also very important for us to acknowledge the privileges and the space that we have now.
Right,
And
no?
the people who have long been fighting for these spaces and who were not able to celebrate it during their time.
Pave the way.
Yes, because sometimes, Munggo, just because we are more accepted now, just because the conversations are, happening now, sometimes there's also a little sense of entitlement to,
Right.
to automatically be accepted, to automatically be tolerated, nga dili na lang jud ka magpastorya nga
Right.
okay na lang jud ka magbinayot na lang jud ka, ikaw na lang jud
Because
magbuot.
there's that fine line ba,
right.
of being authentically you
And being bastos.
immoral,
Correct.
obnoxious,
Right.
no, and then you call out people homophobic.
True.
No,
So, ana.
that's why we get to slow down, no, this battle.
And it's a reminder for the community as well na we have to remind ourselves of the journey that we have gone through.
Right.
And little side comments and even steering conversations that divides our own community is sometimes the reason why people are so divided.
Right.
I mean, I could even remember the conversation about trans women being women.
Right.
And I did not expect that people were waiting for my statement. They were anticipating, Doc, 2 weeks na nga issue, pa makay statement. Because I'm trying to analyze how I'm going to put it without offending either of the party. Because both are correct, depending on the perspective that you're anchoring on.
Right.
If you talk about the actual biological concept, then people who say trans women are not biologically women or are not women are correct because their anchor is biology.
Right.
But just like biology, psychology and sociology, if you combine it with psychosociology, is also a science.
Right.
And these are also facts, meaning transgender women who identify themselves as women living under the norms of women, practicing what it means to be a woman in their daily life, are women. So, asa man ta nagdaog, asa man ta suko kaayo, and ganong hateful kayo ang exchange. So, I think sometimes we get lost and too emotional over conversations that should have allowed the community to reach a common ground.
Right.
The anchoring should have been that there is a valid fact that is anchored on biology and there is a valid fact that is anchored on psychosociology. And so where do we reach common ground? We reach common ground by discussing specific areas that will affect the transgender community without having to disrespect or abuse the cisgender community. So spaces like sports, spaces like policies and regulations, pageants, so on and so forth, para intellectual ang conversation.
Right.
Para magod ako, wala mo ko kayo mahimo. If you just banter back and forth and you're there for the clout, you're there for the likes, and you're there for the meta exchange because the more audience you have, the more money you get. But nothing is really happening in the groundwork where it should have happened. And the conversation should have been intended there to begin with. So,
Right. And I get to realize that this is the beauty of the progress that our community is doing. And I say beauty because we opened conversations or arguments that weren't supposed to be, that was not open way back before when transgender, or I don't know if transgender, transsexuals were actually even a term before.
Right.
No? So now that, the transgender women or men are actually well defined and now challenging an existing gender and becomes now a platform wherein, okay, let's put things right. No, or how do we put things right so we can coexist?
Even
No?
language, Mangani, becomes a limitation because if you're going to look at it, there is no direct translation of the word transgender to our local dialect. So the indirect translation is, when you look at me, bayot ko. When you look at you, bayot ka. When you look at transgender, bayot sad sila. So even language and the actual translation becomes a
Yeah.
limitation.
Right.
So we use technical terms that we think are correct, but they're not correct because they're not the same. So if arigid ka mo angkor sa suji nga discussion, there's really a lot of unlearning and consideration that you have to understand so you get the picture. Again,
Right.
the discussion on Soji is not an invitation to be gay. The life of gay people are difficult, so much more if you're a trans person. No, daghan kayo nag-agian. You're not fitting the society, looking at yourself at the mirror and you feel confused. Why am I in this body where I'm supposed to be somebody else? So, learning the DEI, learning the Soji is not an invitation to be gay. We have to correct that. Learning HIV is not an invitation to be sexually promiscuous.
Right.
Because not all people who have HIV are promiscuous. It's just so happened the statistics would show that men are more sexually active and somewhat predatory by nature, and part of that is also parallel to Soji. Because if tanawon mo ang demographics, it's male to male sex, and these are not even declaring that they're gay.
Yeah.
Right.
These are people who are on the, I don't want to use the word far flung, but on the side areas ba nga can do their sexual expression unsafely, and then those things happen.
But I can also say that, that's why male-to-male transmission is the highest on the board for HIV positive cases, is because this is also the cohort that is most aware.
Yes.
Right?
And
Because
they're
they
the
have
ones
to
that are
defend.
testing.
Yeah.
They have to defend themselves because
Right.
we've always been, attacked that, gay men are the spreaders of HIV.
Right.
And the HIV awareness programs were also most likely directed to them. No? Where in fact, how I see it in my perspective is that cohort is well aware. So now, start doing more, like what Ayana
You do
said,
multiple
more
cohorts.
HIV awareness,
Right.
specific and tailor fit to certain cohorts, and let's see the numbers rise. No,
Exactly.
the numbers rise. Meaning, it's just like, for example, diabetic people, diabetes. No, it's just like most people who are getting diabetes are either those with parents or family with diabetes, or those who are sweet tooth.
Right.
So automatically,
The
they're
highlight
also
is
the
there.
most aware. They are the most who is most tested,
Doing the testing.
and gets positive.
Right.
So I hope it's just very ambitious. Someday we treat HIV like that, ba? Uy, bayad ka? O sige, pagpa-test. Uy, pagpa-test gihapon, maski di ka bayad.
Right,
No,
right.
normal lang ba? Okay, ay, positive ka. Nanay treatment ha, sunod, magmatngon na ka.
Right.
Imo nang kanon imuhang tambal. No, right now, magod. Uy, bayad ka. Naka
And
HIV.
right.
Luura ni mo, uy.
And majority of the people that we lose in HIV cases are not because they were not treatable. It was
Right.
because they were so enclosed ba on
Stigma
the
killed
stigma
them,
that
yeah.
they were very immoral. Nga wala na lang dyan chance for them to actually reclaim their life and do something positive. So if we're looking at it from that perspective, then we are partly the reason why we lost so many people to HIV battle.
Exactly.
And we have to do better than that.
It's sad to say that even people in the community actually have stigma to PLHIV.
Right.
No? And watch Hook Up the Musical. No spoilers.
Right.
But again, it gives you a glimpse, a peek of a PLHIV person, no, with living in HIV and how life is now, and living with HIV. So get your tickets and Hook Up the Musical.
It's going to be on the
page.
13th
Saturday.
na,
This Saturday na, again, we saw it.
Beautiful.
We were in tears, man.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. So catch them in...
Again, it's not just gay, huh? I mean, that's always the corner of the audience.
You know where I
if it's-
cried? It's in the parents thing.
Yeah, correct. Ma-feel
So I hope
man gud
many
nimo, and-
parents,
right?
you know?
A lot.
These are actual lived experience that is packaged in a very exquisite storytelling na even HIV advocacy campaigns should not be as kanang in your face and should
Right.
not be something that's feared. But sometimes you have to look into the perspective of a parent or a sister or a brother that has it, and then you get to realize, okay, it could have been just one person affected with the virus, but it actually disrupts the entire system, disrupts
Yeah.
the family.
Okay, I guess we've discussed so much already.
Yeah.
Yes.
As yappers, as listeners.
A lot.
I think we can wrap up with two things. One is you could say your last statement that can be started with, "I'm happy that Pride is now blank," and then your message to whoever is watching or gonna watch this. Maybe we can start with Yana.
Wow. Okay. So I'm happy that Pride is embodying freedom to each individual to hold their own truth and to express freely at their most, highest potential of themselves. And for me, in addition to the HIV as well, to remove the stigma, it's not just the LGBT, it's key population. So it doesn't mean that because they are highlighted, so they're the people who are responsible for it. Because there's also like underground issues, like you have domestic sexual violence, women or young women who are being exploited. They don't have a voice to speak because they feel like they will be stigmatized in their own ecosystem. So there's still a lot of like things to digest with HIV advocacy as well. So aside from that, there's also people who inject drugs as well. So you can find it a lot in spaces where there's prison, there's small spaces. So that's just to remove the stigma, okay? And lastly, I think for me, the bottom line is compassion, giving space for everyone to be heard, not stepping onto other people's shoes while you're expressing yourself. That's giving everyone the same value, dignity, and spreading love. Love is love. So, yeah.
Thank you, Yana.
Love is love indeed. I am happy that Pride is now inclusive, not just in terminology, but Pride has now been a space and an open invitation for so many people. May it be members of the community, allies, may it be parents, teachers. It has transformed itself into something that's very exclusive. What changed for me is that while Pride originated as a rally, no, or as a protest, is now slowly becoming a celebration. A celebration not because we are already there, but it is a celebration of people coming together and opening doors for conversations that actually matter. So siguro for the listeners or for anybody who's watching this, I think at this day and age, no, with so many things that's going on, and with so many challenges that we have to face, I always anchor on three things. Number one, you cannot give what you do not have. And so I would understand that, for some people who wouldn't understand, there could have been a situation wherein they were also misunderstood. But we should go beyond that. We should be able to encourage understanding, and we should have that as a personal experience so we can give that. That's number one. Number two, with everything accessible now, no pun intended, but I think now we deserve what we tolerate.
Right.
So if you are okay that you are treated with a certain sense of mediocrity or diha lang taputo, and if you succumb to that, if you acknowledge that, then that's what we tolerate. No, we always blame culture. We always blame so many things other than our personal decision. But culture is an agreed practice. And so if there are practices that you do not agree, I'm not saying go on the streets and rally. I'm saying have that difficult conversation. Because, there's no difficult conversation if you're honest with the conversation. And number three, segue in my future podcast. I'm always reminded by my parents that regardless of how the world would see you, you always have to go back to your core. And the message that the world deserves is really your truth. So
Yes.
be able to celebrate your truth, go out there, allow people to experience you as a person. And while, sometimes you're afraid to be vulnerable, just allow people to come in. No, we will not be loved by everybody, but I'm always sure that the right people will find us and they will always choose to stay. So happy Pride, everybody.
Happy
Beautiful.
Pride.
So for me, I'm very happy that Pride now has finally got back its original meaning. While Pride has always been one of the seven deadly sins growing up, no? Pride now, especially in Cebu, has now come back to becoming a word of fulfillment, and be able to own someone's truth, individuality, and hard work ba. Pride now has become someone's tap at the back and say, hey, you did well, you stayed alive, and you kept moving on. And I'm happy that that word has resonated to many Cebuanos who lived in fear for so long, just to be themselves. And that word became that key to open the door of so much opportunity and potential. And we're very glad that, us here in this table, we were given that key, not just to open our own doors, no, but to many doors. Oh my God, I'm becoming emotional. But because we opened a lot of doors for
Right.
many people to actually come out, not just because they want to come out, but because it's safe
Because
to be
it's
out,
for now.
right? And it's that key, which we call pride as well, for parents to hold on to and be happy and accepting to their children who was once thought as different, but now as someone, a labor of love, no, a person who keeps the love intact at home. That key also became the key to our leaders, no, to open that gap and remove that gap, no, between so much opposing ideas on sides, on different arguments, but and just open that door and let everyone in to the social hall, to the city hall, and create dialogues wherein we both can understand each other. And lastly, I'm very happy that that word pride is becoming a household name of joy, of love, of hope, no, rather than a word that divides us, no. So I hope that that word continues to resonate to places wherein darkness still prevails, to places wherein pride still remains as a sin, no, rather than a word of triumph of owning one's hard work, and self, and truth. So I hope that this Pride Month extends to the rest of the year and the years to come, wherein we celebrate each other's wins, each other's ability to love and be loved. So happy Pride Month to everyone there sa Tanambayo, Tomboy, trans parents, leaders, and everyone in between. Always remember that that word will always be our key to finding our true selves and to opening our doors to be able to know everyone who is and are ready to love you. So thank you so much.
That's so beautiful. And yes, to wrap up, as for me, of course, I truly believe no nga, allyship isn't about being a hero of someone's story, but it's always about being on the side or behind for somebody's writing their own story. But yeah, if I may to finish the line, I am happy that Pride now, which has always been my pride, Pride now is we're all seeing already a number of allies. Daghan na kay allies joining us in the movement. So thank you all so much for that, and I hope this Pride Month continues to remind us of how beautiful life and how colorful life could be if only people get to live their truest self. And I hope we are that kind of ally that helps create that world.
Happy Pride indeed.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride.
Everybody.